I want to introduce Filipi Pires today to speak
Pires,
about Pires, I'm sorry.
Pires. Yeah, no worries.
To speak about dissecting PDF files, malware analysis. With that being said, I will hand over the floor to Filipi. If anyone has any questions at any point, definitely use the control panel to ask a question. There you go, Filipi. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. Yeah, okay. I think you. So first of all, thank you so much for this time, for this. It's a pleasure to be here to talk with you. So today we're gonna talk about the PDF files, about this kind of document, right? When you think about the PDF, then malware analysis or threats or something like that. Okay. So this is my contact in social medias, right? So my name is Filipi Pires, as Tyrone mentioned before, and I have been working as a security manager, yeah, and research and security manager from Zup Security Labs at Zup Innovation. Zup Innovation, it's a company, Brazilian company actually, responsible to provide, to create many different products by the way of open source code. It's very interesting because we have 3 or 4 open products. All of them, it's all of these products are open source, so the community can use it. It's very, very interesting. And I am a researcher as well in hacker security. I am a founder of the malware analysis course, Fundamentals, right? So we have another different course as well, like a pen testing courses focusing red team and blue team and something like that, right? So I'm not a writer, but I have a privilege to write some articles in Pentesting magazine, in Forensic, and I share some of these articles in the cybersecurity hub. It's a very interesting portal. It's important because they sharing very many papers and and news. It's very interesting. And this month I share another articles. Here I have the CV that I received by Maitri. Yes, this router is from Poland because the last year I live in Poland, by the way, and I live in Poland. I live in almost 1 year and 2 or 3 months, and I was a pen testing there, and I have this opportunity to find this CV, this vulnerability in this router, right? So let's talk about our main topic today. So we're gonna talk about the who is threats, because I would like to put everywhere or everybody in the same page, right? So I will talk about some concept very fast, and after that I will talk about the structure of the PDF, and I will show the demo, right? And the end, the question, if you have any question, if you can, I don't know, if you would like to ask me during this presentation, you can change this presentation like a conversation. I like it's not a problem for me, right? So first of all, who is threat? This is one of this definition, right? Because you can find many different definitions of this kind of top threat, yes, but I decided to choose based in ISO, and in this ISO, right? The threat is defined as a potential, right? It's a because I don't know if it's danger or not, because I have just a sample. Could be a software attack, could be theft of intellectual property, maybe identity theft or sabotage or information extortion. Example are some example of this kind of security threats, right? So the idea is to try understand if this threat is really malicious, right? So this is just a concept. So after that, I have this sample, right? Because I need to, the first step when I need to start this kind of analysis, I need to identify of this sample is malicious or not. So we have the malware analysis, the malware, yes, the software malicious, the malicious software, and we have the maldoc, yes, the document malicious, right? So this is the first and important step. I will show you after that. When you know or you understand what this file is, you can choose what the best strategy to analyze of this file, right? If you chose the static analysis, or maybe you can use the dynamic analysis. I will explain more after that. So after that, you can create a report, because this is the main important. It's very important because you can share all those information with your coordinator, your tech lead, your manager. Maybe, of course, it's depend of the structure of the company, but you can provide something. Yes, you can provide, for example, some recommendations. And when you make the analysis in any different artifacts, you can produce this kind of report, and you can produce more than just a report. You can improve in your defense mechanism, because this is the idea in the end of the day, right? Because, for example, if you have the antivirus, if you have the firewall, if you have, for example, the IPS or another different sensor of the security in your company, for example, if you have this analyst, or maybe there's another term that I could use, like a researcher, or maybe a threat hunter, or maybe a penetration tester, you will attack your own environment. Actually you try, you prove, you test your sensor in your company. So after that, if you find any vulnerabilities, you can, of course, prepare a report, send it to the vendor, right? And you can improve your defenses mechanism. You can change some settings in your product, change some, like aggressive modes, or maybe high modes in terms of the detection, right? So because many times when you install some software in your company, you put something in, for example, in low severity, right? Or not severity, but the detection it's in low, because you don't like to have the false positive, but you can have, for example, the false negative. It's another part, and you need to, grow up your security sensors, right? So all those steps, it's very important to improve your defenses mechanism, right? And if you have a big company, not a big company, but if you have the smart, I will use this term, but if you can have, for example, the good mind, or a smart mind, you can create of this cyber threat intelligence. It's a very good word. By the way, I like to share this word with my mom, because she didn't understand nothing, by the way, but it sounds to me very important for her. But you can improve, you can create this kind of cyber threat intelligence in your company, because if you know that some sample came to your company for this way, for the right way, you can put some firewalls or another sensor. You can block this kind of attack. So, and you can improve, you can create all this intelligence in your company, right? You can, of course, when you talk about the cyber threat intelligence, we're gonna talk about the IOCs, indicator of compromise. We're gonna talk about, for example, the EOA, indicator of attack. It's based in behavior, right? And you can work proactively to protect yourself, protect your company, right? And after that, you can actually strengthen your cyber resilience, because during our conversation, we have in the world many different attackers creating new threats, new malwares, new exploits, and something like that, right? Okay, so this is a simple, draft of some step. Of course, you can use in another, because you have a NIST or you have another different institute, and you can base it this kind of information. I just created this kind of simple steps, right? So let's talk about the statistic analysis. This is the first step usually. Yes, the analyst, the malware analyst, the malware analysis usually using this this analysis to start of this you know, the investigation, because usually this is the first exploration of the sample, because the statistical analysis describe the process, you know, maybe the same program, or maybe the code inside this program, maybe we can analyze the structure of the any, for example, a DLL, or maybe lib, okay, or what kind of function this DLL is called in the system operation, right? So you can start off this step, because it's usually it's more manual. You use more manually, you know. So this program itself doesn't run at this time. Of course, it depends on this program that you use, right? So because of this, usually the people mention it's more safe, right? Because you not put the program executing in real time, right? You execute some commands, and you can, of course, interpret of this information, and you can go to step by step, right? So this is the first step, usually. Not it's not a rule, okay, but it's usually. And the other hand, you have the dynamic analysis, right? So the dynamic analysis is just based in behavior, right? That is, basically you can take your sample, because you don't know if it's malicious or not. You put this file or this sample inside a controlled environment, and you look at inside of this, for example, this environment, and you will see all the behavior that this sample or this file has during the execution, right? And usually, of course, when you go, or when you use this kind of analysis, you can create some tools to, you know, to stay better in your company. You can it's easily to automate of the process, right? So because when you talk about this, you have, for example, the antivirus scanning, like for example, virus total, or you can use another concept. The name is sandbox. I think it's everybody knows about this kind of concept. Sandbox basically it's a virtual machine that you put your sample inside this environment, and you can execute like a user, and you can, of course, understand all those behavior, and you can see what this, again, the DLL is called, what the system, what the process, if it's encrypted environment or not, and something like that, right? So this is just a concept of this, our steps, right? So I will try using here my computer during this presentation. So let's pray to the demos Lord, right? Because usually when we try to show something to in some meetups or conference, maybe something wrong or problem happened, but let's pray today if not happen to us today. So the first step, if you remember when I talk to them is, or to us is the identification steps, right? So here, I don't know if you can see my screen. If you need to grow the letters, please let me know here. But I think it's good to see here. So the first command that I like to use is file command, right? Because we can identify all these artifacts, right? Because I have here bill. This is the first that I will see. It's a PDF file, right? So I will use file to look in the invoice. It's a PDF file as well. And we can use the resume, yeah, it's PDF file. And sample, maybe, let me check here, sample, it's a file PDF. As you can see here, we have the version, right? Version 1.5, 1.7, 1.4, and 1.3, right? So this is a very important command, because if you read of the command file, you can understand something very, very important. This is it's just a basis, right? So file is determining a file type, right? Oh, okay, Filipe, I know about it. Perfect. But how file works, that's a good, it's very important point to understand, right? Because here below, if you see here, let me put, this file have a magic number stored in a particular place near the beginning of the file that tells the unique operation system, right? So the file is based in this step. Of course, this command has a big database. Of course, it's complete inside of the system's operation. And the file command uses this database to identify what the file is, but they use this information, the magic number information, where is this information is stored in the particular place near the beginning. I understand maybe you are thinking now about, oh, Filipi, I don't like to read the man, you know, but me too, I don't like to read, but it's necessary, right? Because when you do this, you can understand how this works. For example, here you can, of course, we don't talk about the ELF files, but here, if you see here, take a look here, whose format is defined in ELF doc.h. So here, if you read this file, you can find, for example, the structure of the ELF, right? So if you know about the structure, you can investigate it better, right? It's very simple. And here we have very steps, or where this database is in the system's operation. But I would like to show you another thing that I just to clarify about this, right? So let me put here. It's I know I can just came back here, and here, yes, I download the file and the magic key, right? So here I download the code, right? The database of the file, because here I will show you how this command or this structure works, right? So here I will create now the simple file malware.txt, right? I will use nano, okay? Okay, it's more simple, but I know. Malware, I will save here, and now we have a malware, right? So let me put in up down here, malware.txt is a ASCII text, right? Because it's a text. Perfectly perfect. If I read this information here, I can find I can find the malware. Everything works, right? But that's an interesting point. It's very good to look. Take a look, for example, cat JavaScript here. If I read this information, I can understand some rules, right? Or that is defined, or maybe sometimes we have the regex, but but here we have, for example, the MIME type information of this file. So, for example, if you remember when we read the manual of file, of course, the information that we read is the magic number is in the beginning of the file, right? So if it's in the beginning, I can change. I will copy this and I will manipulate it. I will manipulate my malware file because it's a text, right? So I will put below and I will change here and I will manipulate this information. So now we have a text, right? No, we have a Node.js script ASCII executable. Is executable? I don't know. I will make another change. Let me put another regex here because I know you probably don't know. Okay, so now take a look, file malware.txt, because I have this extension, but the magic number, this document is, oh good, my goodness, it's Python script, right? So if it's Python, maybe we can execute, maybe. Let's change to Python, right? So let's change the privilege, right? Malware, right? So let's execute in Python. Doc whatever, malware PDF, and bound, problem. Why problem? Because of course we don't have here all code, right? But we have the this information in the beginning of the file. This is the magic number. Of course, if you think about, for example, the PA, portable executable, or maybe ELF, it's totally different because you have different rules to put all together to identify, of course. But you can create your own, yourself, for example, yourself database and yourself extension, for example. You can put your rules and you can create, right? So when you understand what these tools or many tools you could use in your tests, you can understand all those steps, right? So, for example, if I change another, again, the malware Python here, I will change it to, let me change here, our friend %pdf -1.9. And if I save here, let me change it, let me check here again. Wow, we have the PDF document again. You see? So let's return to, we don't have problem during this demo, right? So that's an interesting point because you can manipulate all those informations, right? So you need to understand what you are using about the tools, right? So that's an important thing. Okay, so let's talk about the structure of the PDF. In general, PDF has 4 parts, right? The header, it's the same in any different files, right? We have a body. When you have many objects inside of this body, you have a cross-reference table or X table, right? And you have a trailer. This is responsible to connect or to referencing another cross-reference table, right? One connect and another. And you know, this usually this trail is the end of the document, right? So when you see the picture, you can see the normal structure actually. In the beginning, you can find the version, right? The version number. And after that, you can find the body. Inside the body, you have the number of the pages. If you have the images, you can find, for example, bookmarks or another information inside the body. And inside the cross-reference table, we have, this is an interesting point because you have locations. This is the place or the locations of the objects within the file for a random access. That is, you have the all or many referencing in the cross-reference table inside the body, right? So one of these parts referencing another part. That's very interesting, right? In the trailer is always the same locations of certain objects within the body, right? So let me return another again on our machine. Please, everybody, continue pray to the demos God, Lord, to help me. Let me think about it. Maldoc, right? Maldoc. Here we have many documents, right? So let me using another platform, another tools, right? PDF ID. This tools is created by Didier Stevens. I don't know if you know this guy. It's very known guy when you talk about the malware analysis and in PDF or another different files. This tools is created by him, yeah. And in a Unix platform, it's installed in many platforms. But you can access the him blog and you can download the version to use in a Windows machine, for example. So I will show you, for example, the PDF ID from the sample.pdf, right? So here you can, if you see here, you can look in the PDF ID, the name of the platform, of course, the version, the name of the sample, the file actually. And here you can find the version, right, of not version. You can find the header. This is information is in the beginning. That is the magic number of the file. Do you remember I explained to you? And here you will find the number 1, doc3. This is a version of this PDF, right? So I will put below to see better, okay? And here, I don't know, it's small, but I will put more high, more bigger. So here, I will like to translate to you because here you have the 14 objects, right? and below we have the same 14 objects because you have the beginning and the end of the object. And here we have a streaming. It's a very, very interesting point. And here we have you need to have attention here, because usually the attacker likes to put some, JavaScript or another different things inside this kind of document, or maybe URL or another thing, right? So we have one cross-reference table. When you have the trailer, and here is start the cross-reference table. So, but Filipe, what this and other things means, because you have here the pages, encrypted, and JS or JavaScript, AA, open action, what this stuff means. It's very interesting, because if you compare, for example, let me open another window here, and you put PDF ID invoice. I think I have this file, right? So let's compare of this file here, both of this file. So here we have the 14 objects. So man, here we have 63 objects. It's very, very big, or bigger, right? So, and here, oh my goodness, we have a 22 string, right? And the page, we just have one page. Why? Right? So let's take a look another file here. I think I have a resume, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah. So here we have, for example, 28 objects, and we have 11 stream, right? And but below we didn't find nothing. So I will go to another folder here, PDF, and they can, let me see here. This is CV, PDF ID, CV, our friend. Yeah, probably one guy would like to find any, job. CV. Okay. So here the same case. The platform and the name of the file, the header, that is magic number. We have a 15 objects, and we have two string. Oops, here 2 string. But here we have a 1 page, and we have something inside of this part is encrypted. And take a look here. We have 2 JavaScript, more 3, because they executing and scanning inside this document to find some strings or another part or another information. And here, take a look, we find the open action, right? So what this means, it's very simple. The open action, or maybe AA, is this thing happen when this file needs one command from the user. That is, when the user receive this CV, for example, the people from HR team receive the CV and probably will open, right? Because this is the routine of this kind of people, right? Needs to open many CVs, many resume, every day, all day, right? So they will click in this CV, right? So when he or she or they click in this file, will execute this function, open action, that is open something. What function execute? So something that are maybe or malicious or not, but usually they this function is using to call a URL or maybe a string or another thing. So it's another interesting point. It's maybe suspicious, but when you look 5 JavaScript inside the PDF, man, take a look at this. 5 JavaScript is totally suspicious, right? So just to understand the difference, right? So when you propose yourself to analyze any PDF, you need to be relaxed, because you can find, for example, 15 objects, or maybe you can find it 63. It's bigger than another, So it's very, very different, all those files, right? So let's return the PDF, and I will show you the demo, because we have a short time to try and to explain all those things, right? So I just explained the concept. So now I will show you the really demo, right? The one of the sample that I analyzed. By the way, it's the same, but it's another name, right? So here it's the same case that I explained to you, the 15 objects, and you have a 1 page, and you have a 5 JavaScript, right? And you have the open action. I explained to you open action. Do you remember when the user clicking the object or the file, execute something, right? So after that, I will use the PDF parser. This is another platform provided by DVA Stevens, right? It's the same guy. It's the same package, right? This platform is in the same package, right? So here I will collect the run of this information inside of this PDF, right? Because I need to investigate more deeply, right? So I will execute, and now I will start to read all those information inside this PDF. So take a look, the version, the header, basically, and here we have the interesting point. Sorry, we have the one object, the first object actually, because we have a 15 object, right? So inside this PDF one, the object one, sorry, we have this another reference in object 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That is, all those objects are reference their self, right? So if you continue to read, we have the 15 object, but here just talk about the 7, right? Okay, all those informations, we have here the JavaScript, and here again we have the open action. Take a look here. It's very, very interesting point, because do you remember I mentioned open action happen when the user click and execute something, right? So here we can understand what is execute after this click. When the user or the victim click in open action, the PDF will execute the JavaScript, right? So I don't look in the inside of the, reverse engineer, but I am just looking the PDF file, and if you see here, the first steps is you can test, you can, I forgot the word in English, by the way, but you can affirm that this PDF is malicious, right? Because you have the open action and you call the JavaScript. So think about it. It's possible you have a JavaScript inside of PDF, just 1 page. Not make sense for me, okay? But let's continue to this investigation. So you have here another interesting point, because inside the object 4, take a look. We have another reference, the object 8 and the object 9, because we didn't this reference, but now we have, right? The object 8 and 9. So we have the 1 until 9. But do you remember we have a 15 objects, right? So let's continue to investigate all those information here, and we find here another reference that we put. Okay, the object 7 called the object 10, right? So now we are near, the 15 objects, right? So in the object 10, we have a JavaScript, another reference here, right? So let's put here, and inside the object 9, we have the reference, of course, the object 4, 8, and now appears another object, 11, right? So, and here we have basically information of the space, the bookmarks. Do you remember I explained something about it inside the body, right? So, okay, but inside the object 10, we have a reference object 12, right? And here in object 11, what we find here, the first streaming, right, contains string, and this string is flat the code. So if it's flat the code, probably I need to execute something to try the code of these informations, right? So okay, so here I have an interesting point I could try to read. but here the size, it's 36. It's so, it's not big, it's small. Okay, but let's continue to look all those objects. So do you remember this file just have 15 objects? Do you remember before 63 objects? It's very, very bigger. Yep. So take a look at the object 13 here. In object 13, take a look. We have a JavaScript and we have a string again, but the size here is bigger than another. Do you remember? Another, it's very small. Here it's bigger. Okay, and here maybe we have an interesting point to analyze, right? So we need to find another two, 14 and 15, right? So here it's everything. The 14 is here and the 15 in here it's here, and we finish the file. So we need to now analyze the object 13 because we have a big JavaScript inside this information, right? So, and this in that point, I executed another platform, but this platform is not provided by DDA Steven, okay? But I will execute the PDF TK. I think some people may know these tools. I will execute the uncompression information. When I will execute some or create some PDF, I can compress some information and I can use this platform. Or if I need to uncompress the PDF, the information inside the PDF, I can use this uncompressed. Okay, if of course this tool has many others function, but I just use this here, right? So I generate the dump doc text to my idea here it was to look inside all those information, but uncompressed. So take a look here what information I found. If you remember in the 13, we have the JavaScript, do you remember? But if you see here, it's maybe not looks, not looks like a JavaScript, But what happened here in this case? It's simple. Of course, not simple, but I know. Basically, the attacker here using the obfuscation technique, right? So the technique used here is the obfuscation inside this JavaScript, right? So of course, I need to read this information. So I have here the evil parameter. I will thought when I make this investigation. So if I have the evil and I have a JavaScript, and I need to read this, I need to read this information. So I will use the HTML to try to read this in any page, right? Because here, if you see here, it's more, the different color here about the green color is different. So basically, I wrote this this information in a browser, right? Because I would like to read this information. I will disobfuscate this information because we talk about the what JavaScript, right? It's if you need to receive more knowledge, you need to study more about the applications, web applications, and something like that, right? Something like that. Let me look here. Okay, we have a payload.html. This is a file that I created. Okay, so now I will execute this in a browser. So take a look what we find here. Okay, we have a payload. Do you know what this means? Do you know what this means? Yes, this is the package responsible to install the victim machine. So let's to make steps that this attacker used in this attack. For example, they create a PDF file, they put a JavaScript inside this PDF. The attacker used the obfuscation technique to put all this code inside this technique. And when the user click in this PDF, do you remember the open action? You execute this JavaScript, and inside this JavaScript, what we have, the payload. The payload is the package that I will install in the Bitcoin machine, and this package is responsible to connect to the CAC, the command and controller from attacker, right? So here we have many interesting information because we have the package, right? The basically is like a reverse, right? This package is responsible to call the attacker. Perfect. Okay, I could just stop here, but I was thinking that time I could try to investigate more. Okay, so let's continue to investigate more of this sample, because here I have a code, right? Or some code. But when I look inside this code, I can, I can see some information, or not information, but some percent inside this information. And I understand that this code that attacker used is a Unicode code based in EUC2, right? So I need to talk more slow, not to be confused this expression. But basically here, if you see here, I cut the percent, right? So here I have this code. What this code means? This is another technique that the attacker used in this attack. The Unicode encode, right? Because it's different when you talk about the encryption. Encryption is one thing, and encode it's another thing, right? So here I generate the Unicode code because this is a technique that the attacker used in this attack. So here I have the pure Unicode code, right? Because do you remember I have the payload, right? So inside this payload I have this Unicode information. So now I need to convert this information, right? Because I have here the pure Unicode based in EUC2. So, but maybe you are thinking now, Filipi, we just explain or just talk about with us about the Unix platform, but in Windows, what happened in Windows? Simple. I will show you another platform in Windows, right? So we have a Mozilla. It's a very known platform. If you see here, it's the same code with the same percent, right? So what another step that I did, I show you in Linux now. I need to cut the percent, right? And after that, I need to generate what? Because I have the Unicode package. So in this platform, I can generate the hexa file binary, right? Why I do this in that case, right? Or what I did it in that case? Because my idea, it was to try read all those information inside this binary, inside this package, right? So after that, I used another platform from my friend DDA Steven, the short search, because my idea is to try and find any HTTP or HTTPS maybe, because my idea is to try and find the IP from the attacker, IP or the CAC from the attacker. And take a look here, we find the IP from the attacker, right? And if you consult of this information, if you search this information, you can find this information. This guy is from Estonia, Europe, right? So before or finishing this presentation, basically, take a look. We have the PDF file with 15 objects. Inside this object, we have a JavaScript obfuscated. Do you remember? And when the user clicking this object in this PDF, this open action, one of these functions that we saw, executed this JavaScript obfuscated. This JavaScript of obfuscated will download the payload. Do you remember the payload? Inside this payload, we have the Unicode code, and inside this Unicode, we generate, of course, this hexa binary, but inside this code, we have the IP from the attacker. So you can understand all the flow of this attack, right? So now I finish my presentation, and thank you, Tyrone and the team and everyone for this opportunity. It's a pleasure again to talk with you. And this is my contact again. This is my Medium, GitHub, Twitter, and here the Medium Core Shield. This is from Zup Security Labs. So I publish something and we have another researchers to publish in there. So now I am open if you have any questions. So please let me know now. Or where I can find here the questions.
Thank you, Felipe. We have questions about, do you prefer PDF ID to PDF parser?
Actually, it's a, during my investigations, usually I using this kind of platform because, it's more easier for me. Usually I have using this because of course we have another different tools because, actually when I need to execute some, analysis or maybe in pen testing or maybe in another activity, for example, this is my opinion, I like to use sometimes 3 or more different tools, because I like to compare the results, right? So because sometimes you receive some results from the one tools, another time you receive another, another information of this tool. So usually I use 2 or more.
Okay. I have another question. How often do you come across like executable payloads hidden inside PDF instructions, like say for instance using an MSF Venom tool?
I don't know if I understand correctly the question, but
so with MSF Venom, you can create custom payload, reverse shells, bind shells.
Yeah. Okay, you can create, of course, but that's an interesting point because when you talk about the MSF Venom, we're gonna talk about app tools from Kali Linux or some different platforms. But usually the antivirus already know about this package, So usually the antivirus will block this information. Of course, you can generate this kind of payload, and you can try using this. But in the end, if you think about in the end of the day, when you execute some, for example, PowerShell to call this package, maybe you receive the blockage, from the antivirus or something like that, So, but of course, when you try to make some testing in a antivirus or another solution, for example, it's depend, of course, of the system operation. You can find any vulnerabilities inside this kind of document. But I like to mention it. MS Venom, it's a package from Kali or another platform. It's from Metasploit, but it's not a malware, right? It's different. It's a package that you can create. It's not. Of course, and when you think about the concept, it's malicious software because when you can use this to gain the reverse shell, right? So, but in the real life, if I can mention it, in the real life, the attacker using the real malware, the ransomware to cryptograph the environment, to encrypt the environment, to or maybe worm to spray in the network using the backdoor. It's different. The
okay.
approach.
Another question was a personal question about those that are looking to get into malware analysis. Do you have a recommended software suite that one could use for that?
Yeah, actually, my idea, if you in the future, if you read or if you read when whatever, all of my articles that I was written is about the basis, right? Because the tools, it's can help you, but you need to understand the concept. That's my point, because because in the end of the day, you just to execute the tools, and in many times you execute this tool, you didn't get to understand the answer of these tools, right? So I saw many times in the CTFs And you know, in many analyze, in many others investigations, the guys executing a tools, you know, and the tools give you the answer, and the answer is clear, you know, in the page, but they didn't get an interpreter, you know, understand what this command give you, you know. So that's it's an interesting point. So of course we have many tools, you know, in a Linux platform and another different Windows from Windows as well. But my recommendation is to study about the structure of the system operation, the architecture, the network, you know, of course the application. You need to understand everything. I know it's difficult, this is our life, you know. We need to study. My kids asked me yesterday, Father, you didn't stop to study, man. Oh yes, I need, you know. That's an important point.
Another question about recommended platforms for you for analysis on files other than PDFs, like Excel, docs.
Actually, I can show you here. Because we have today many different antivirus scanning platforms, right? So let me, I forgot now, because we have here, let me look at the zoo here, but we have another. This is an interesting platform to find the malwares, right? So let me check here. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Let me check here, malware. I think it's here. Let me check here. Because here we have, I forgot, awesome malwares. I don't remember exactly, because here we have many different tools you can use. Let me check here. If you have one moment, malwares, see if it's here or not. This is a good repository. You can find many real malwares, right? By the way, I use these malwares in many of my tests, right? Let me show you again. This is the zoo. I think it's very known. And another, it's very interesting. It's Malware Bazaar. Okay, I can send you after this meeting the links, and you can share with everyone. So let me check. Is this? Yes, it is.
I'm currently sharing as many as I possibly can right now.
Okay. Yeah. Oops. Let me. Okay. Awesome malware analysis. Here we have many informations from you guys. Take a look here. We have malware collections. You can try using, for example, the honeypots. You can using here another different sample collected for analysis for the question. Yes, we have a virus total and another different databases. Open source threat intelligence you can use. For example, you can, you know, try using, for example, here MISP. It's very interesting. By the way, maybe in the future I can talk about it. So it's very interesting project, right? So, and here we have another different sources from the threat intelligence and IOCs. And here it's interesting because this is the question, right? So we have analyze PA. We can analyze here. You can execute this kind of file. Here we have many tools you can test in your environment. Here, this tools, it's very interesting. Detect it easy. It's very cool because you can change some information inside some sessions inside the PE, the portable executable. Let me check here. Oh, I love this platform, PEV. By the way, it's created by my friend Fernando Mercedes from Brazil. Now it's maintaining for Debian, I think, association. I don't know exactly, but he is one of this founder. And here to analyze a PDF, portable executable, right? And here we have another interesting, because here we have a multi-AV scanner, right? you can execute the sample, right? You can download your sample here and you execute to understand the behavior. This is many tools to using to execute basically dynamic analysis, right? So let me check it here. Oh, here it's VirusTotal, as I mentioned, and domain analysis. So here it's very, very interesting, right? And we have many different techniques. And by the way, this is the Malware Bazaar, and you can click here in the Malware database. And here you can find many real malwares, right? Of course, you need to be careful because you can execute in your environment. And here you can find, for example, the Excel file, the Excel file, the document file, and you can find many different files, right? And if I have a minute, like sandbox, and this is a very interesting project, right? So it's from Poland, by the way, and I made some testing. If I'd like to sharing with you. It's very good project. Drake Booth Sandbox. It's open source, of course. Sandbox is it's a black box more analysis, but the point here is totally clientless. It's very interesting, right? And the guys responsible for this project, it's totally accessible. We can talk to them. It's easier to talk to them. So it's very interesting project. If you'd like to cooperate of this project, it's very interesting, right? Drake's Booth Sandbox.
All right. Thank you, Filipi,
yeah,
for the great presentation. We will send you a copy of the recording.
Yeah, some friend asked me during the presentation in a Twitter here if this presentation it to be available to watching the YouTube or another
yes, so platform. We put it on our YouTube channel, the Cover6 Solutions YouTube channel, as well as this very same page that everyone used to register. Perfect. And then if you want a copy as well, I'll send you a copy as well. No problem at all.
Perfect.
Okay, I want to thank everyone for attending the meetup. I look forward to seeing everyone at the next meetup or some future meetups. Today is October 1st, which means it is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. If you're following me on Twitter, I started a NC SAM thread, and I will be posting something every single day related to cybersecurity or InfoSec. I hope you got Filipi's contact information in case you need to contact him again or look at the website or look at his GitHub or ask him any other questions. I did put Filipi's Twitter account inside of the chat. I will do my best to gather up all of the links to send out in the follow-up email. And, with that said, again, thank you, Filipi, for the great presentation. We look forward to having you again.
Yeah, thank you, Taron, again. And I have another topics I sent to you.
We do.
And I have another new topic. It's very interesting, and we're gonna talk after this another time, right? I will send you.
Okay.
Guys, thank you again. Thank you again, and have a nice day.
All right. Okay. Good night. I mean, not good night. Have a good day, everybody. Have a good day.